Hello everyone and welcome to our educational session. My name is Paul Arsov and I'm the founder of the Decentralized Web project. I'm going to talk about this and several other projects in the end of this presentation, but the topic today is vibe coding when the AI is railroading developers. This is part one of this presentation. And this presentation is oriented towards developers. So it means by developers, I mean programmers, software engineers, and people who are doing coding. And vibe coding refers to asking the AI to provide a specific source code which the human then gets this source code, builds it, and it incorporates it in a product or a service. And so like you may be a vibe coder yourself, or you're just curious about vibe coding, or like you don't use vibe coding, but you are curious about people who are doing this, and this presentation is then for you. And I could say that vibe coding could be addictive, and also this is an expensive habit. Vibe coding has its almost there quality, the feeling we're just one prompt away from the perfect solution. It is what makes it so addicting. Vibe coding operates on the principle of variable ratio reinforcement, which is a powerful form of operant conditioning, where rewards come unpredictably. Unlike fixed rewards, this intermittent success pattern, the code works, is brilliant, and then it just broke. What the fuck? It triggers strong dopamine responses in our brain reward pathways, similar to gambling behavior. What makes this especially effective with AI is the minimum effort required for potential significant rewards, creating what neuroscientists call an effort discounting advantage, combined with our innate competition bias, the drive to finish tasks we have started. This creates a compelling psychological loop that keeps us prompting. Since Claude Code has been released, we have probably spent over like thousands of dollars coding various projects into reality, some of which we hope to announce maybe very soon. Don't worry. But let's talk about the expense too, because we think there's something bad there as well. Coding agents, especially for example Claude 3.7, the backend of Claude Code, tend to write too much code, a phenomenon that ends up costing users more than it should, where an experienced developer might solve a problem with a few elegant lines with a thoughtful functional method. These AI systems often produce verbose, over-engineered solutions that tackle problems intermittently, rather than addressing them at their core. Our initial reaction was to attribute this to the relative immaturity of large language models and their limitations when reasoning about abstract logic problems. Since these models are primarily trained to predict and generate text based on patterns they have been seen before, it makes sense that they might struggle with the deeper architectural thinking that leads to elegant minimal solutions. And indeed, the highly complex tasks we have handed to them have largely resulted in failure. Implemented a minimax algorithm in a novel card game, crafting thoughtful animations in CSS, completely refactoring a code base, and etc. The large language models routinely get lost in the sauce when it comes to thinking through the high-level principles required to solve difficult problems with computer science. In the example we have given, our human implemented versions of Minimax can vary from more than 2000 lines by LLM to totals of 400 lines of code where Cloud Code version comes to more than 600 lines. The LLM version also requires almost a dozen other library files. Granted, this version is in TypeScript and has a ton of extra bells and whistles, some of which people ask for, but the real problem is it doesn't actually work. Furthermore, using the LLM to debug it requires sending the bloated code back and forth to the API every time we want to holistically debug it. In an effort to impress the user and over-deliver, LLMs end up crafting a rat's nest of ultra-defensive code littered with debugging statement, neurotic comments, and barely useful, helpful functions. If you have ever worked in highly functional production code base, this is enough to drive people insane. We think everyone who spends any time vibe coding eventually discovers something like this and realizes that it is much more worthwhile to work with a plan composed of discrete tasks that could be explained to a junior level developer versus a feature level project handed off to a staff engineer. There is also the likelihood that the vast majority of code that large language models have been trained on tends to be inelegant and overly verbose. Lord knows where a lot of abstract Java final serialized factory code out there. But we're beginning to think the problem runs deeper, and it has to do with the economics of AI assistants. The economic incentive is perverse. Many AI coding assistants, including AI code, charge based on token count, especially the amount of text processed and generated. This creates what economists would call a perverse incentive, an incentive that produces behavior contrary to what's actually desired. Let's break down how this works. The AI generates verbose uh, procedural code for a given task. This code becomes part of the context when you ask for further changes or additions, and this is the key. The AI now has to read, and you pay for it, this verbose code in every subsequent interaction. More tokens processed equals more revenue for the company behind the AI. The large language model developers have no incentive to fix this verbose code problem, because doing so will meaningfully impact their bottom line and revenue generated. As Upton Sinclair famously noted, it is difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on his not understanding it. Similarly, it might be difficult for AI companies to prioritize cost consci- um, consciousness when their revenue depends on token count. But what are the broader implications? This pattern points to a more general concern in AI development: the alignment between how systems are monetized and how they will serve your user needs. When charging by token count, there is naturally less incentive to optimize for elegant, minimal solutions. Even all you can need subscription plans, like for example, Cloud Max subscription, this don't fully resolve this tension, as they typically come with usage caps or other limitations that maintain the underlying incentive structure. And with this said, I'm ending part one of this presentation, and I'm coming back to the beginning of this presentation when I told you that my name is Paul Arsof, and I'm the founder of the Decentralized Web project and several other projects. But first, the Decentralized Web project built decentralized communication and advertising platform. As I just mentioned, it is monetized through advertising. The project has its own blockchain instance, and this blockchain instance rewards people who come to our platform and become new users with tokens generated by our own blockchain. And it also rewards people by viewing advertising, which is very permissive, and the users can request start the viewing of the advertising. Then they have to click to view one ad for a period of time, and then click again to view next advertising, and so on and so on. Also, like our users are rewarded with tokens for inviting other people to become new users on our platform as well, and the users are rewarded with tokens. The meaning we put and the implementation of decentralization, it is different than the implementation of decentralization put by blockchain technology. We view blockchain technology as fundamentally not suitable to drive decentralization, and being too cumbersome to be a decentralization solution. In our implementation of decentralization, we allow only direct communication from user to user without going to a third party, namely a web server or a central point which collects information and then it distributes this information back to users. Once again, we allow only direct communication from user to user. With this said, I like to tell you the name and the URL of this project. It is decentralizedweb.org. Decentralized and web, these are two words, but they're typed all together. Decentralized web. Then there's dot and it ends with org. With this said, I am going to the second project I want to tell you about, and this project built a marketplace and collection of non-fungible tokens based on three-dimensional objects. With three-dimensional objects, there has to be special software which loads and displays the 3D object, and usually the creators of 3D object they have been using popular game engines. Currently, there are two very popular choices. One is a game engine called Unity, and the other one is a game engine called Unreal. But from the very beginning of our project, we decided to build our own 3D software engine. And what this 3D software engine does is it reads the file of the 3D object, then it opens a window on a computer screen, then it displays the 3D object of the 3D NFT, and then it animates the 3D NFT in a way of moving it in a random fashion around the window it did open. But in addition to these basic and initial capabilities, our 3D software engine has multiple additional capabilities. The first additional capability of our 3D NFTs and 3D software engine is the capability of speaking. Our 3D NFTs can speak in one of three different voices, namely a male voice, a female voice, or whisper kind of a voice. In addition to the three basic voices, there are three different flavors of voices. A voice can be spoken either in a normal speed, or in a fast speed, or in a slow speed fashion. The next additional and important capability of our 3D NFTs is the capability of voice recognition. You can ask the 3D NFT what is your name, and then the 3D NFT is going to reply with their name. You can ask the 3D NFT who are you, and then the 3D NFT is going to reply in few sentences of who they are. You can ask the 3D NFT to describe something. For example, describe Web3 or describe decentralization or describe Russia. And then the 3D NFT is going to reply with answer about Web3 or decentralization or the country called Russia. The next additional and important capability of our 3D NFTs is the capability of them being displayed in a way of stereoscopics. What stereoscopics means is that part of the 3D NFT is going to be displayed in red or reddish colors, and another part of the 3D NFT is going to be displayed in blue or cyan colors. Then you can come to our 3D NFT marketplace website, and now is the time to tell you the name and the URL of this website. It is 3dnft.decentralizedweb.org. 3dnft is typed in a way of the letter 3 followed by the letter D followed by three other letters N, F, and T. And it is typed all together 3D NFT. Then there is dot, then there are two words, decentralized and web, and they are typed all together. Then there is dot and it ends with org. Once again, 3dnft.decentralizedweb.org. On the top of the main page and every other page, you can see number of links, and one of these links point to links to accessories. When you click on this link, you're going to see that we're offering special glasses, and when you click and order one pair of these glasses, and when you receive these glasses, you can put these glasses on. You can request displaying of the 3D NFTs in a way of stereoscopics, and then you're going to see the 3D NFT is coming out of the flat two-dimensional computer screen, and you're going to see it in real 3 dimensions. With this said, I'd like to tell you also a little bit about our 3D NFT marketplace. In our 3D NFT marketplace, we have our own blockchain instance, and by having our own blockchain instance, we allow our users to avoid paying gas fees for the creations of the non-fungible tokens, and our users avoid also paying gas fees for transactions of transfer of ownership from one user to another user. By having our own blockchain instance also, we allow buying and receiving proceedings from sale in multiple crypto coins. Currently, the choices include Solana Sol, Polygon Pol Matic, Avalanche Avax, and Qcoin, which is a big centralized crypto exchange. They have a coin called KCS. But in addition to buying and receiving proceedings from sale in crypto, we have a second parallel and independent way of buying and selling 3D NFTs, and it is done entirely in fiat currency. When you come to our 3D NFT marketplace, when you click and browse through the collection of our 3D NFTs, and when you click on one 3D NFT that you like to purchase, then you're going to be presented with a drop-down menu which is asking you to select between 4 different crypto coins and the fifth choice of paying with fiat currency. When you select payment with fiat currency, then you're going to be presented with a screen where you have to put the number of your debit or credit card, expiration date, and CVC. And when you click to complete the transaction, what is going to happen is there is going to be transaction and transfer and conversion from your national fiat currency to US dollars, and this payment is going to be converted to US dollars and deposited in our bank account. Then we are going to follow this with transaction and transfer of the initial ownership from our 3D NFT marketplace to you, and now you become the owner of this 3D NFT. And after you play for a while, you can decide to put this 3D NFT for sale, and then let's say there is a second user which comes to our 3D NFT marketplace. They browse through the collections, they see and like to purchase the 3D NFT that you put for sale, and they're going to go through the same motions of um, choosing between payment with crypto and fiat currency. And if they select payment with fiat currency, they're going to go through the same motions of putting the number of their debit or credit card, expiration date, CVC, and when they click to complete the transaction, then they are going to make what is going to happen is there is going to be a conversion from their national fiat currency to US dollars, and this payment is going to be deposited in our bank account. Then we are going to make a transaction and transfer of ownership from you to the second user, which now becomes owner of this 3D NFT. And finally, we are going to make a transaction and transfer and conversion from US dollars to your national fiat currency, and the payment is going to be deposited um, in your national fiat currency in your bank account. With this said, I'm ending talking about this second project, and the third project I like to mention is our AI to AI project. The AI to AI project built a project which has multiple AI entities, and currently the project has two AI entities, and each one of these AI entities is outfitted with their own avatar image, their own gender, their own voice and voice pitch, and they're outfitted with their own large language model, and the user specify a specific text, a specific prompt for this AI entity, and the user also provides the context of this interaction for this AI as well. And for the second AI entity as well, they're outfitted in the same way with their own avatar image, their own gender, their own voice, voice pitch, large language model, and the user specifies the prompt for this AI entity as well, and the context of the interaction. And then the user clicks a button to start this interaction, and they just observe and enjoy them and be entertained of the interaction between one AI entity submitting the answer to the initial prompt to the second AI entity, and the second AI entity responding based on their prompt and context to the first AI entity, and this interaction going back and forth. For a while, the user can enjoy this interaction, and then they can stop this interaction, and at this point they could save the transcript of this interaction on their local computer, be it a laptop or a tablet or mobile phone device, and also they could share the parameters of this interaction on our AI to AI website with and this sharing allows our other users to view this interaction, and they could also put the parameters of this interaction and experience a similar but not exactly the same interaction like the one you did experience, because large language models have requirements to not to repeat themselves when responding to users. With this said, I like to give you an example. For example, you can give the first AI entity female gender, female avatar image, a female voice and voice pitch, and you could put a prompt for this female AI entity to be very seductive. And the context of this interaction is to ask questions and answer questions. And the second AI entity could have male gender, it could have male avatar image, male voice, and you could specify their own large language model and put the prompt of this interaction to be very angry. And the context of this interaction is the same as questions and respond to questions. Then you could enjoy this interaction and observe the first female AI entity trying to seduce the male AI entity, and the male AI entity responding back in an angry fashion to the female AI entity. And this interaction going then back and forth. Other types of interaction could be, for example, one AI entity being a customer who wants to buy, for example, a washing machine or even a car, and then the second AI entity being a salesperson trying to sell a washing machine or a car to the first AI entity. With this said, I like to tell you the name and the URL of the website of this project. It is ai2ai.decentralizedweb.org. AI2AI is consists of the letter A followed by the letter I followed by the number 2 followed by two other letters A and I, and it is typed all together AI to AI. Then there is dot, and then there are two words, decentralized and web, typed all together. Then there is dot and it ends with org. Once again, AI to AI dot decentralizedweb.org. The next project that I like to mention is project which builds tools for control of artificial intelligence entities. Currently, big companies like OpenAI and Anthropic, they do experiments, and in these experiments, AI like once in a while and or often they escaped human control, and they try to go outside of the sandbox they're placed in, and they're trying to call outside of the sandbox, or try to escape the control and go and operate outside of this sandbox without human observation and without human control. Currently, we humans are the dominant entities on this planet, but we are rapidly creating other type of intelligence, which is machine-based intelligence, and at some point it is possible that this intelligence becomes actually a dominant entity on our planet, and we can be relegated to like the same positions that we currently put the animal kingdom or the plant kingdom on our planet. So at any point we have to have control over the artificial intelligence, um, from starting from this point and on to the future. So this project creates tools which are controlling where AI is going and what is it doing. And these tools have the capability of stopping the AI entity from accessing outside world and preventing AI to do any damage or anything which is not specifically requested to them for doing. With this said, I like to tell you that we're still in development of this project. We did not release a website, but at some point we are going to release and post the website for users to use the tools with their AI, artificial intelligence agents. With this said, I like to tell you the second project, which this project is about token counting, and big AI providers, they provide they bill users on number of tokens the users are spending, and these projects generate revenue for the large language model provider companies. And the incentive of these companies is to provide verbose answers which count as many more tokens than necessary, and these tokens are then billed to the user, and in the end of the month or the beginning of the month, when the bill comes, it could come as a huge negative surprise to the user. So that we are providing tools which are counting the tokens hourly, daily, and weekly and monthly, and providing the exact count to the user so that in the end of the month, when the bill comes, it doesn't come as a big negative surprise to the user. And with this said, I'm ending talking about this part one of this presentation. Stay tuned for part two of this presentation. Thank you for listening. Thank you for viewing. Have a nice day. Have a nice evening, and goodbye.